Report. Coronavirus, Louisiana.
Unfortunately, I had to let every hourly employee go, which was tough. It's tough.
It's an uncertain, scary future for tens of thousands of people in the New Orleans area concerned about how they will survive the next few weeks. But some help could be coming from the federal government. Tonight, we're talking to U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy from Washington, D.C., and now also bring in CPA Kimberly Washington. Yes. Thank you for being with us. First of all, Senator Cassidy, we'll start with you. This stimulus bill still stalling. Will it get passed at some point soon?
I think it will pass. I'm not quite sure. I think it'll pass this week. I'd hoped it would pass today. That said, I do think it'll pass this week and it'll bring relief. There'll be payments of $1,200 per individual and $2,500 or $2,400 per family up to a certain income level. There'll be small business administration loans so that the small business will be able to borrow, and the degree to which they use that money for payroll, it'll be forgiven as a grant and will not have to be paid back. In your teaser, you had mentioned somebody having to lay people off. He could bring them back, borrow the money, and that which he used as to pay his workers, again, will be forgiven. There'll be also bridge financing, if you will, for larger corporations, again, with the intent that they keep people employed. And then we'll finally expand unemployment insurance. There's many other things we're doing, but that's all trying to keep Americans employed.
Ms. Washington, I mean, I know you have tons of clients.
Yes.
You're hearing from. How scared are, business owners, people who have been laid off. Yes. Around this area?
They're pretty frightened at this time, especially even just going around my community. I see some of the businesses and the restaurants, they're already closed at this time. So many people are frightened and just wondering what's going to happen next. Just all the uncertainties, the anxiety of everything that's going on is making especially small business owners very concerned at this time.
So what's your biggest advice to these people?
I say take a deep breath, pray, and then we'll just have to see. But one of the biggest advice is really looking at your finances at this time and making certain that you make certain cuts if needed to do at this time too as well, and try to make certain that certain things like your tax returns and your accounting records are in order, because that's going to be the biggest thing as it relates to your SBA loans and getting that working capital as it relates to getting past this.
So the government's allowed tax filing date to move. Yes. From April to July. Should people wait, or should they go ahead and get it in?
I say two different things. Number one, if you are an individual, you're expecting a refund, I say file as soon as possible. The IRS has reported at this time that you have about 21 days processing time, and it's the same amount of time that it's always been. So file those tax returns. If you are a business owner, just like I stated before, you want to make sure you file those tax returns so that you can have your documents in place in case it's needed for the SBA to get those loans and things of that nature.
Senator Cassidy, I mean, there's a lot of people who have mortgages that, they won't be able to pay in, a couple of weeks or a month or something like that. Can anything be done for those people?
So a couple things. By the way, I echo Kimberly's advice. There's going to be a lot of other things. For example, if you're a small business, you can wait to pay your payroll tax until the next year. And I think it's half next year and the half of the year after. Kimberly may correct me, but that's one of the changes that have been made. They're trying to increase liquidity for small businesses, liquidity, how much money they have, can they make their payroll? So they're absolutely trying to do that. What did you say? I'm sorry, Lee, what was the question though?
That's all right. I guess, my question is for people who can't, pay a mortgage in a couple of weeks or a month from now. Is there any
the
relief
mortgages?
For yeah.
I'm sorry, the mortgages.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's going to be that one-time payment that goes out that's supposedly going to be out by the end of the first week in April. We hope that is the case. And so for some, that will help. Secondly, as I mentioned, we're doing things to try and keep people employed. They will continue to pull down income so that they can continue to pay their bills. Thirdly, we've increased the unemployment insurance benefit, adding $600 to whatever the state would pay now. So if the state's currently paying, $400, then we're adding $600 to that per week, again, to make that more generous. Lastly, the president has put a hold on all foreclosures and evictions. I have it here on my computer. I can tell you the exact time. I'm now and he put that on hold for the next 60 days, suspending all foreclosures and evictions for the next 60 days. So relief in the short term as well, until again we hope the economy begins its rise once more.
Do you think? I mean, can the economy withstand this with all these people out of work? We heard the Federal Reserve Bank over the weekend say unemployment could reach 30% in the second quarter. Can we sustain this? For how long can we?
So this is a medical crisis leading to an economic crisis. When we go back to the first segment of this show with Fred Lopez, social distancing, if we squash this, flatten the curve, stop it in its tracks, then we'll be like Wuhan province in China or South Korea. Dramatic measures at first, flatten the curve, control the infection, and now the economy is coming back. If we are ineffective at controlling, and it's like Northern Italy, it keeps on popping out, you cannot have an economy when there are no hospital beds, when somebody gets injured on the job and an ambulance is not available to bring them in. So we need to squash it, control it, socially distance, or as you say, physically distance, and then we can get our economy going once more.
Kimberly, there's a lot of people who owe student loans, and I know they're scared right now too. What's your advice to them?
So right now we saw in the news, of course, that interest is being waived at this time. So what does this really mean? It just means, simply put, that only the interest is being waived and your